Hello and welcome to KSB TV. What an amazing week is behind us. We had so many things to talk about. There was Richard's live stream and we got so much pull chain news. After that, we had some pull chain FUD, but we do not want to talk about this today. Today, we have amazing interview partners, Racing already waiting in the green room. We will bring them up in a second. And then we will ask them about all the success they had in the last season. I remember following Hexican Girl and Hex Turbo because they have been on the sites from day one and were looking at all over Top Cat Racing streams and were informing us Hexicans about everything that is going on. What I want to do right now is I want to look into the chat here really quick. I see Big Paul, Top Cats Racing Engineer already saying hello here. Please, everybody in the chat, give us a like and subscribe. Go also to Twitter really quick to retweet abit_hex and the tweet that I just did, just to bring all the Hexicans along here for this amazing community stream that we are about to have. What I want to do is I want to share my screen here really quick with you guys because I have a video lined up from Hexican Girl because she is uploading all the content from Top Cat Racing, and of course I want to show really quick what the guys are doing, and then with this video we will start our interview here. So let's do this. So here we go. It was a really successful season here for Top Cats Racing, and I'm so excited to bring on two community crew members from Top Cats Racing. So let's bring on Jensen and Cromwell. How's it going, guys?
Hey.
Hi, how are you?
You guys are situated in UK. I guess the weather down there is not that good right now, huh?
No, it's not too bad now, but it's been raining all day. So, yeah, typical UK.
And we just have seen it in the video as well. There were some clouds on the tracks as well often, and you guys had to scope with that. I want to ask you, can you give us a little elevator pitch of who Top Cat Racing is and how did the last season go for you?
Okay, well, Top Cat Racing is owned and run by Charlotte and Warren Gilbert. I started driving for them a few years ago. I approached them as a driver, and we raced with Marcus cars, some GT cars. Had quite a bit of success, and then together with Cromwell, we sort of said, well, let's get some new cars. Let's brand them up with the HEX logo. And then we moved in with the Lamborghinis, and yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been a great season this year. Obviously, we're champions now. We're GTC champions. I don't know how many wins we've had. We've lost count. We've had a really good year. The team have been great. They put together great cars, and the driver lineup worked this year as well. So yeah, it's been a tough year because we've had two major things that went against us this year. But to come out champions just a few days ago was really rewarding, and I think they're the best looking cars on the grid as well. I'm a little bit biased.
I think so too, and we will definitely discuss those two incidents you were talking about in a second. But before the stream, I was talking with Cromwell about the drivers that you have, and he was talking about Charlotte B and Charlotte G in the highest regard. So Cromwell, can you maybe go into this topic again a little bit and explain to the viewers what you meant by that? What kind of cars are they driving? Because you were explaining the cars as beasts, and I would love to know what you mean by that.
I think Charlotte G, before getting into the Lamborghini this year, her experience was racing things like TVRs and Marcoses, which they are beasts. They're real monsters. And they're the sort of car that, well, Jensen will probably tell you that when you sit in it, all it wants to do is try and kill you. It's going to fight you, you know. And there was always Charlotte muscling these monstrous great beasts around, and I always rather so you could never question her bravery. Let's put it that way. You know, always you know, one of those sort of people who just wants to get stuck into it and do really well. And then of course she faced this year the transition into a much more modern car with a lot more electronic systems, and I think from a driving point of view and a management point of view, it's a very different animal. I wouldn't say it's easier, it's just very different, but it still requires an awful lot of physical effort. You know, one example of that would be, as you know, sort of someone who sort of sits in the background from a data tech point of view. One of the things we measure is the amount of pressure that has to go into the brakes to make them slow down. And it's important and significant. Yes, they're very impressive because they're fast. They accelerate very quickly, but they need to slow down in a stable manner. And to do that, the driver needs to push a lot of weight into that brake pedal. Now, if you're a big strapping fella like Jensen there, he's got a little bit of advantage there because he's got a little bit of weight behind him. With someone like Charlotte, she's probably got to push something like 3 times her own body weight through her toes into that brake pedal in a controlled way. And then, of course, you've got Charlotte B, who's even smaller. Actually, she's only you know, a very slight frame, as it were, much less experienced than Charlotte G. And her learning curve has just been almost akin to a vertical cliff to come out of small, very low-powered saloon cars into such a magnificent machine, and to take it out there up against such quality competition as well, because the whole grid is magnificent in GT-Cup. I mean, we're going up against McLarens and Ferraris and Mercedes and Aston Martins and Porsches. They really are quite spectacular things, you know.
They're really spectacular, and I want to share my screen here again because then you see the post that I did just this, prior to this stream, and I have this thumbnail here, just a beautiful Hex Lambo. We see pull chain on there. I can even see a little sticker of Poor Pleb. So you are really endorsing a cryptocurrency on this car, and my question would be, how did it come along that you decided to endorse Hex, to endorse pull chain, a product that is not even out yet? I guess you discussed that beforehand, before you did it. What was the biggest reason why you decided to go with this step?
I was, I've been working with Jensen in racing cars for quite some time, and I've been in crypto for quite some time as well. I was talking to a small group of UK Hexicans and said, look, I'm working with this race team. We have a Lamborghini. And you have this meme in crypto particularly, but also in the real world is, when Lambo. And I said, the thing is, we're going to be racing this Lamborghini next year, whatever happens. I really think it should have some hexagons on it. We need to get behind this because, I really think we can do something with that and make something special of it. And these guys totally bought into the idea. Absolutely. We've got to do this. It was quite bizarre at the time. It was about a year ago now, and the UK was still under a sort of partial lockdown. What racing we had done in 21 was more or less behind closed doors. So we were allowed to go to the circuits and do our races, but there was no visiting public anymore. They weren't allowed to come to the circuits. And so there was we were starting to wonder what the value proposition might be in terms of promotion and community engagement and how we could do that, not really knowing if the visiting public would come back or people would even be allowed to come back, and sort of thing. But the guys were really keen to have a crack at it and take a bit of a punt in some ways, and managed to pull it all together. But I have to give full credit for the fundamentals of the design of the presentation, the wrap on the cars, to Jensen, as that all sort of seemed to come out of his pen.
Yeah, like I said, it looks really, really beautiful. And here in my tweet, I said, a racing team which success is fueled by hex.com. Am I exaggerating here, or is the success also maybe a little part of the financial stability that hex.com brought? Because when I was on tour with the 5555 tour and I was talking to all the Hexicans out there, everybody and myself, we just live a different life now because we have financial stability. And I know racing a race team costs a lot of money. Every year you need to raise money again to do buy the next cars, right, and to do all you need to do. And has hex.com played its part in this role, financing TopCatsRacing?
Well, it was just 5 UK community members coming together, offering some financial support, and there was sort of a 3-part proposition placed, really, because they wanted to know if the team needed the money to spend in order to run the cars, or what it was. So they were offered pound sterling or stable coins if they preferred, or hex. But the condition with the hex was, look, we don't want you to market sell that. If you're going to have, you can have hex if you want hex, but we would like you to keep it and preferably stake it. And that is actually what happened. Hex changed hands, and the hex was staked, I think, for something like about 1,500 days, I think, or something. That's about right, isn't it? Something like
it is. Yeah, it is.
So no hex was harmed in the running of these Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
So the next question, I guess, a little bit more towards Jensen here. Tell us about this season. TopCatsRacing has been dominating from what I have seen. So what do you think was the main key success for TopCatsRacing for being so successful?
Well, I think we had the right cars. That's important because the championship evolves every year. So the new Ferraris are coming through, the new Lamborghinis are coming through. In fact, the Lamborghinis have now got an Evo 2 pack for them as well, which is a different aero. So we had the right cars this year. Obviously, we initially started with the one Lamborghini, and then with Top Cats, that another car was brought in as well. So we ran the two Lamborghinis. So we had the right cars. I think as drivers, I mean, I've been racing 30 years. My partner driver, team owner as well, Warren, he's raced for 30 odd years. We've got a lot of experience. We're not like Charlotte Birch, who's on this intense learning curve. We're kind of where we are now. So we were able to come out of the blocks running straight away in probably what was the best car in the class. So we started to get a good points lead early on. There's a few cars in the championship that kept knocking on our door. There's a chap called Lucky Carer that races with Ferrari. He kept us honest all year. But I think we had the right drivers and the right cars, and we were wrapped up in the right team. The team have done a fantastic job. All of the engineers have just really got their heads down this year and pushed hard. And any request that I gave as a driver was just done. There was nothing questioned. The data feedback, Aidan works closely with a chap called Darren and Danny in the team with all the data, because as drivers we need that data to keep improving. And these cars are there's so much tech on these cars. To understand the tech, you can't just be given a spreadsheet. You need someone to explain it to you. And you can overlay data. So two drivers can literally overlay data. If one driver's slightly quicker, you can look at all of his brake inputs, throttle inputs, cornering speed, what gear they were in, and you can see where he's beating you or she's beating you. And then you can go out on the next test session and try to copy that. So I think we pushed each other. Me and Warren, as driving partners, we pushed each other all year, frequently within a fraction of a second of each other. And I think we've had, as I say, we've had two low points this year, which we'll go into quite a lot of detail actually in the documentary. But we've got, and I think that actually brought us together as a team, and it made us more determined that we wanted to win the Cup this year, which is what we did. So yeah, right cars, right team, right time this year. Yeah.
All right. So you were mentioning the two incidents. You were also just mentioning the documentary, and I have the documentary trailer here brought in my screen share. So let me bring it up. Let's play this documentary trailer here really, really quick. It's just 29 seconds, so it's not too long. It seems like this documentary is the perfect grand finale of everything that is happening. You were dominating the whole season, winning basically every single race. Now you've won the championship as well, and everybody wants to know, obviously, so what is this all about? And the documentary, I think, is the perfect fit for that. We have seen already a lot of content actually on Hexicans Girl YouTube channel, for example, and you have your own social media help as well, right? Who is creating all that content. So what is the idea behind that documentary and all the work that you are doing with presenting Top Cats Racing right now?
Well, I think the documentary, what we wanted to do, because we've had such a good following this year with Hexicans joining us at the race circuits, and obviously following us on socials and wishing us well. So we wanted to give an insight into what goes on at race weekends, all of the nuts and bolts, behind the scenes stuff. So obviously all of the reels and the promo videos and things that we put out after an event are all very well polished, and they're all sort of formatted in a way to grab the audience. But there's a lot that goes on behind the scenes as well. Just chat with engineers and drivers, and right from the start of the season, when me and Cromwell were discussing the ideas, talking with the team's ideas to onboarding Charlotte Birch, right through. So that was the sort of purpose of the documentary. There's a few teasers at the end with regards to plans for 2023. And yeah, Ollie Media have been fantastic all year. They've got some great video footage, some great photos, and it seems wherever you turn, he's there with a camera. You know, he just captures stuff. He's very, very good at it. You have to check if you go to the toilet that he's not, you know, in the next cubicle because he's quite invasive at times. But we really wanted to put this documentary together to do, obviously show our success and the good parts of the year, but you know, show the whole thing, warts and all. There's so much that goes on. We're such a big family, the team and the drivers, that we just felt that there was so much support we were getting from the HEX community that we should kind of open our back doors and show people what goes in, you know, what goes on around the back as well. I'm looking forward to it. I know there's a lot of editing going on at the moment. We keep seeing snippets. But I think it's November, Cromwell. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That's the plan, November. And I think from my point of view, I you know, talking to Ollie Media, you know, I felt that there was rather than just telling a story about one day or one race weekend, there was a bigger story to try and tell about the whole year, and the way that. There's a number of sort of sides to it, aspects to it, but we've sort of become a bit of a social hub for UK Hexicans, where you'll go probably in any country, like you guys know, where you have meetups with different people in different towns and different areas, and where we travel around the whole country with racing. You know, the people are saying on Telegram and so on, we'll do a meetup when the Top Cats are racing at their nearby circuit a month ago, and they come and they join us, and we have a lot of fun, and it's used as a big opportunity to try and onboard people, because we do get good crowds at the circuits from the visiting public, and there's also one or two actual very high value individuals in the paddock as well. I mean,
but that did me to my next question. You were mentioning that you have all those races around the UK, and Hexicans are coming and doing basically HEX events throughout your race weekend, right? So how was your experience with the Hexicans on site when you talk to them? Because this is exactly what KSB TV is all about as well. We have been on a workshop tour last year with 42 free workshops where we educated the people about HEX. And how was your experience with all the Hexicans coming on, coming by, or maybe even no corners that are asking you about those beautiful designs of the Lamborghinis? How do you onboard the people on site when they ask you about crypto or when they ask you about HEX?
It's a good question and not an easy one to answer. But the first thing with the team is we're very, very open compared with many other people. So we don't kind of close ourselves behind the doors when we're in the garages and things. The doors are always open. The kettle is always on, so there's tea and coffee and biscuits and things. And we love people being around us, getting close to the cars, because it's not an everyday experience for normal people to be sort of, you know, so close up to something like that. You know, they see a Lamborghini or Ferrari or something driving down the street once in a while, but to be right there and maybe sit in the thing and be, you know, and have the environment of the car sort of explained to them and one thing and another, and naturally you there's a hook right there. So what's this hex.com thing then?
Exactly.
And at that point, you know, we've always got sort of something like 30 or so, maybe more Hexicans around us, you know, and they're all just lovely people. There's a vibe, you know, of fun and enjoyment and enthusiasm about this thing HEX, you know, and so it becomes actually quite an easy, very relaxed sort of sell with a lot of people. So I don't know, sometimes you get complete no coiners and you've got to really start with basics. Other people, and I found this quite a lot this year, I find people have they believe that the extent of it is perhaps they're using platforms like, say, eToro or something. So they get the idea, but it's always in some custodial system, and you've got to kind of convince them, look, guys, isn't really the right way to go here, you know.
Yeah, of course, this is always the problem. That's true.
Yeah. So then we do our best to preach the word.
So, Jensen, you were mentioning the documentary, and we have looked at a couple of clips already that are discussed in the documentary. But those two incidents that happened throughout the year, let's get into this a little bit. What's the first incident that happened that will be discussed in the documentary as well?
Okay. Well, I was diagnosed with cancer at the start of the season. It all came out of the blue. The cars were built, the branding was all done, and I had to have an emergency operation. And the first 5 rounds of the year, I actually raced whilst on chemo.
Oh,
which
wow.
was
I'm so
probably
sorry
the
to hear that.
hardest thing I've ever done physically. Again, everyone around me were just awesome. You know, just I live for my motor race, and I have done since I was a small boy. So that's my happy place when I'm in a race car. So it was kind of, I guess there was a little bit of fate involved, because my chemo was done over cycles each month, and it just happened that at the end of each cycle you would get a week's break from the chemotherapy, and the calendar, the race weekend, would be that week. So it actually fell into place really well. So we went from, you know, having big plans and really excited about the year to, I can remember sitting down with Cromwell, just like, what are we going to do? I don't know how this treatment's going to affect me, you know, but we made the decision to forge on. And if I couldn't drive, then we would draft someone else in. But of course, my heart was set on driving. And the hardest season for me ever because of that. Happy to say that I'm cancer free now. I've been given the all clear on 3 occasions. Thank you. They caught it very early, and it was treated very, very well. So I have a 93% chance that it won't come back. So I'll take them odds. So driving through the season under chemo has been at times absolutely exhausting, and anyone that's been through it will understand what that sort of fatigue is like. To win the championship in a year like that, wow. I don't think it's even set in just yet. And then, of course, we went to Silverstone, and Warren had a huge accident at Silverstone, which was 128 miles an hour to 0 in 2 meters, I think. Chassis bent, Warren bent, very bent. I think he broke all of his ribs, pelvis, collarbone, punctured lung. There wasn't much left of Warren that wasn't bruised or black. So after coming through the initial part of the chemo for me, and then starting to get strength back, which takes some time, with Warren doing all of the legwork, as it were, then all of a sudden I'm faced with, wow, Warren's now in hospital. What do we do now? So we that weekend, actually, Charlotte Birch jumped in the Lamborghini with me, and we finished the weekend. We had 2 wins that weekend, I think. And then we then jumped into the second Lamborghini and finished the year with Warren's wife, Charlotte Gilbert, who's so quick, it's scary. So the 2 lows this year have been, were my diagnosis, and I guess another high would be getting the all clear at the end of it, and obviously Warren's accident as well. It was like everything was just thrown at us this year, and we had a competitor in a Ferrari 458 challenge car that just wouldn't leave us alone. It just wouldn't give us a moment to catch our breath. We had to be on it every time we were on track. And we were so far ahead of the points that he pulled his entry out of the last weekend, because I think he knew we'd beat him, which was nice for us, because we had a little bit of an easier ride on the last weekend. And again, this is what the documentary is going to be all about. It's all of the real stuff behind the scenes. You know, people see the glossy finish to the reels that we put out on TikTok and socials and things. They don't see the nuts and bolts and how late the guys all work at the factory prepping the cars, and the personal stuff, like when I got ill and Warren's hospital and his recovery. it was a serious accident. The guy was airlifted in an air ambulance, and every time the doctors reported back, we were being told it's now a punctured lung, it's now broken ribs, he's now unconscious. And an hour later, I've got to be in the car, and obviously his wife's there, and she's thinking, do I drive? Do I not drive? That was a tough weekend, Silverstone, and I think the documentary is really going to dig into that and show the human side of what we do. I'm really looking forward to it coming out. But so to win the championship on a year like that, when it was not plain sailing at all, I think we all feel immensely proud. And to do it in the cars that looked, the wrap on the cars, we instructed a company. We gave them the colours of HEX, we gave them the logos, and said, we want these cars to stand out. Do your thing. And the very first design they came back with, both Cromwell and me, both absolutely, that's the one. And I think the commentators at the first round this year, for the GT-Cup TV channel, they said that they weren't really allowed to say it because it's a little bit biased, but they said that the cars, without doubt, were the best looking cars on the grid, and I think genuinely they were. So it's just been an awesome year. It's been an awesome year.
Yeah, I also have seen a clip where the commentators were endorsing the beautiful HEX.com cars, and they were always using HEX.com as much as they could, and I really, really love that. I think it's amazing what you guys are doing with these beautiful cars, and now hearing those two incidents, it is just crazy. I think fuel for the documentary, because that's drama pure, right? Like, when had you had a racing driver with Kimo winning a championship like this? Congratulations to TopCatsRacing for sure, achieving that. I think this is just amazing. And then having HEX.com on top of that while winning a championship is just the cherry for me on top, I guess, in this documentary here. And then when the documentary comes out, the Hexicans, I bet, will be all over it. But of course, you hope that this documentary will catch all kinds of attention, right? For what reason? For what reason are you doing this? Because Cromwell told me before the stream that having a racing team is pretty much like having a startup. So can we get into the topic? What is coming up for you guys in the future? Because now in the winter there's no racing, but for sure there's a lot of working and planning. So what are you doing the next couple of weeks?
Well, I think I think we have more meetings during the winter months than during the season, because when the season starts, we know what cars we've got, what drivers we've got, where we're going to race, the livery designs for the cars. So we're just out there doing our sport. In the winter, as Cromwell said, it is a complete startup. So we need to assign our budget. We need to decide what chassis we're going to run, the driver lineups, and obviously we work closely with the team, with Warren and Charlotte on this as well, and to create the package for the season, for the coming season. And obviously motorsport is crazy expensive. We self-fund a lot of what we do. So I think with the documentary, it's really about what we've done this year, a bit of a taster of what we're trying to put together for next year. And maybe we'll get some interest. Maybe we'll get some Hexicans that want to get involved. We've had quite a few already that have joined us trackside that would like to help us with what we do, because it is very expensive. We're you could call us a not-for-profit organization if you like. We do this because we love it and we want to promote HEX. We're all Hexicans now. I think all of the team members are Hexicans. A lot of the engineers didn't know what it was before we joined, and obviously I know Aidan personally, he's on ramped quite a few people at race weekends. So I think the overriding factor for us now is to put our plans together for 2023 with the topic or the heading that we want to do it bigger and better than we did it this year. Now, whether that's with more cars, slightly different driver lineup, some different cars, maybe more of a field spread, maybe a GT3 car. It's all dictated by the budget. So we're very busy meeting lots of people at the moment, as you can imagine, and it will soon be here. It doesn't, the team have to put everything together. They're busy building cars and things. It will soon be here. So yeah, we do tend to be really busy this time of year. Is you finish the championship, you win it, you just about have a glass of champagne, and then it's right next year, and we're off. And that's what we're doing now. So yeah, we're busy. We're really busy.
So you mentioned that one of your drivers had an accident on the road with the car, right? And the car was trashed afterwards. In the videos, though, that I saw, it was more seen like, hey, we need the second car, bring it out really quick, and then you finished out with this car, right? But this car was a little bit different. What kind of model is that?
They're both Super Trofeo Lamborghinis, but we also brought in a Ginetta GT car as well. At the weekend, we used the second Lamborghini that weekend, the weekend of the accident. But then for the last 2 weekends of the year, we wanted to run 2 cars still. We wanted to maintain the 2 car. The infrastructure of the team is built to run 2 cars. And I think the second car, which we got, which was the Ginetta, I think the team literally got it a week before we went to Donington, so we didn't have time to put the hex wrap on it. We did some QR codes and things, and there was some really cool stuff with the stripe with a hex contract built into it, the wording.
We printed
and then it was
the solidity code down the center stripe.
Yeah,
the XF lobby enter and all this.
That was pretty cool.
From the hex contract on the car. So.
Yeah, but that's literally, and the team did an awesome job prepping the car, and it went out and it won all its races, and it had fastest laps and poles and things, and it was so we did what we needed to do to get the car out. Then we got it wrapped properly, which is in the new hex colors now, and then took it to Snetterton, and I think it was 4 wins at Snetterton.
4 starts, 4 wins.
Yeah. So the Lamborghini that Warren had the accident in has got a damaged chassis. We went to Lamborghini in Italy 3 weeks ago to see if we could acquire another chassis, which they're scratching their heads over at the moment, because I think they was talking June next year they might be able to get us one. It's like, that's not going to cut it. We've got another season coming up. So again, we're considering options. Do we need to try and replace the car? Do we need to? These are what this is where we're in silly season at the moment. So. So technically there is 3 cars, but one of them's a little sick at the moment. Yeah. Yeah.
And with silly season, you're referring to that you do not know what is going to happen, right?
For next year?
Yeah. What are you referring to when you say silly season?
Silly season is what we call the winter break.
All right.
Because we are busier than ever, and we'll consider 20 different options for next year. And we'll end up settling on one that wasn't even in that 20 probably. So we call it silly season. So it's who's going to drive what drivers have we got, how much budget have we got, have we got any support around us that can help us financially. It's just non-stop meetings at the moment. And then eventually we get to a point where the clock runs out and we have to say, right, that's what we've got. This is what we're going to do next year. And then we put it, we obviously we do all this in talks with TopCatsRacing, and then they'll facilitate it. They'll put it all together. So yeah, silly season. It's not, just kick back and drink mulled wine. It's just, we're busier than we are during the year, because at least in the year we know what we're doing. Okay, 3 weeks time we're off to Brands Hatch and we're running 2 Lamborghinis. At the moment we may have 2 cars next year. We may have 4 cars next year. We may have these drivers. We may have other drivers. We don't know yet. We do hope to have everything finalized, if we can, before the documentary goes out in late November. That should give everybody, including the team, time to then put it all together. So yeah.
I'm really excited to see all of that. I've already put the Instagram and Twitter handle of TopCatsRacing here into the chat, and where I see all the content coming out is on Hexicans Girl YouTube channel right now. But I think TopCatsRacing will probably have their own YouTube channel as well in the future, right?
Yeah, they're quite big on socials, Aidan, aren't they?
But they are. So far, mostly this year, we've had Dolly Media producing the content. Some of it goes out on like Top Cats Insta and what have you, but most of the time I've been wanting to provide the content to Hexican content creators, people like Hexican Girl and Hexy Bastard and a few others, as just another sort of reach to community engagement. And there's no reason in the world why we couldn't do everything all on our own channels, but there's a big kind of community element to this, really, and which is kind of bigger than all of us, I think, in many ways. And it's fabulous to have someone like Hexican Girl there, who's sort of willing to pull everything together and post on Twitter and post on TikTok and Insta and all these different places. It seems to work really, really well.
Yeah, thank you to Hexicans Girl. I'm really appreciating all the content that I can see from Top Cat Racing on her YouTube channel, because if she would not do that, like, we would not know, right? And this would just be sad to see. So I'm glad you are working on a documentary. I'm glad to see the Hexicans embracing you on the sites and coming to your races to make even Hexican meetups around those races. I think this really shows how the Hexicans endure those Lambos. And what are your plans in having even bigger community events in the future? Would you maybe even with Top Cat Racing bring the Hexicans into the pit talk or something like this? Would you like to plan community events for Hex in the future when you plan to do the next season with the Hex Lambos again?
Do you want to go with that one, then?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a launch in the early part of 2023. That's where our season starts. We did one this year. There's some great footage on I think on YouTube of that, or even on the Top Cat site. But we did a big launch at the start of this year at the Top Cats headquarters in Aylesbury. That was really good. We had a few thousand people there. I think it was a great day. And we'll be doing the same again next year. So that's sort of the start of the year where, you know, any soon new Hexicans can come along and meet people, and they're always welcome to all the races as well. As Cromwell said earlier, you know, we furnish them with tickets to the event so they can come in, they can come meet the team, see the cars, bring their families down, and you know, get some really great photos and get to sit in the cars, and just meet the team, and then actually watch a live pit lane from the pit garage rather than from the other side of the fence. Most spectators Brands Hatch this year, we had 100,000 spectators, something. It was huge.
Something like that through the weekend.
Most of them were on the other side of the fence looking through the wire, where all of the Hexicans were in the pit lane with us, wearing the Top Cats Hex baseball caps, and, you know, watching the live timings in the data center room, and they love it. You know, it's you know, if you're a Hexican and you come and join us at a track, you're not going to be outside with all the spectators. You're in with us, and I think it just gives that extra little that unique perspective. And we've had people down that aren't even motorsport fans, and now they absolutely love it. You know. And they go away with their team pass and their baseball cap, and we'll see you at the next one. You know, they've never been to a motor race before, so so I think we plan to do a really big launch in 2023, because obviously we'll know exactly what we're doing, but we're going to be doing whatever it is we do is going to be all wrapped in the hex.com, and it's going to be bigger and better than this year. So we're going to have a big launch early 2023, and then we'll continue with inviting, you know, the guys and girls down to join us at the race weekends. And hopefully win it again. That would be good.
That's amazing. And we have Charlotte Gilbert here in the chat. She's saying our pit garage at the races are packed and way busier than any other teams, because so many Hexicans are actually gonna to support us. And I think this is amazing. This is also exactly what I experienced on the 5555 tour. All the Hexicans, they are coming, telling us those amazing stories on how they have changed their life in the past. I mean, I have the same experience with Hex, right? I was in a terrible place. Now I found Hex, and I'm just living the best life of my, that I could ever imagine. And right now, it's also really exciting times for me, especially because I put my head deep into all the content that we created from last year, and the first trailer is out now as well. So since our interview is coming to an end, let's show this trailer here really quick, and maybe we can have a couple of words about this as well after that. So let's do it.
Hex has given me a great deal more hope than I ever had for being financially set in my life.
Hex gave me hope for the future, for myself, for my children, for my financial stability, and that meant everything to me.
And so I found Richard Hart on YouTube one day by chance, and everything he said touched me.
So this words that you just heard, that was basically all around America, the things that I heard when we were doing all our events. Hexicans just telling us how they changed their life with Hex. Do you maybe have similar stories to share as well from last season, where maybe Hexicans came up to you and said something like this, how they changed their life with Hex?
Yeah, very much so. I think it's almost like a sort of a continual evolving theme that the discovery of Hex and adopting it and being adopted by this family, isn't it? It's a life-changing event. It really is. And there are all sorts of different people from different walks of life and cultures. Somehow they've managed to work it out, usually just for themselves, and something makes them reach out. And they find that actually there's really a fantastic community around this. And I love them all to bits. They're just fabulous people. But yeah, I think whenever you get a gathering of people, Hexicans, that we all want to kind of tell our stories, don't we, in a way? And it's a good feeling. It really is a good feeling. Yeah.
It is a community, isn't it? It is a community, without a doubt. I've made so many friends this year, people that I never would have met normally, and I've heard lots of really cool stories. Real nice success stories of people that that got into Hex and have done well for themselves. And it's I think there's a shared sort of bond there with the community, and I think there's a determination as well. To keep sending this thing to the moon. And I think what we've done this year, flying the flag in the UK, I think we've done a good job.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, I think so. And I think we've reached a lot of people. And everybody, as Cromwell said, everybody that we've met, have just been so nice. They're loving their lives. They're loving what Hex has done for them. They totally support it. They're pushing it onto anyone they can push it onto. And for us to be out there, it's kind of like we're all there. All our guests are there with us, and they all turn up with their Hex t-shirts on and hoodies and hats. And we do stand out quite a lot in the pit lane.
We do make a little bit of noise, don't we? But
we do, yeah. There's normally a few hundred people around the back of our garage, isn't there?
But it's we have this sort of small team of individuals. There's something like about 10 of us in the actual team itself. But when we have all these other friends, it's they kind of share in that success that we have on the track in the same way, or a very similar way, that we share that success in Hex. There's so many sort of parallels there that it just seems to be such a good fit.
Yeah,
and I think, Jensen, you are absolutely right. You did a magnificent job representing Hex in the UK. I think with Hex Lambos, I have never seen anything like this, right? Yes, we had the 555 tour in the past. We had the NASCAR going on, the golf tournament and so on. But the amount of people that you probably reached with the Hex Lambos, I cannot imagine. Do you maybe have numbers of how many people are going to a race on a weekend, or maybe how many people are watching the Hex Lambos on the internet on a weekend? Do you know a couple of those numbers?
I mean, it gets pushed out on so many different social media platforms. We always get on whatever platform it is, we always get inundated with comments and feedback and downloads and whatever channels it's on. And as Cromwell said, because the way we push it out to people like Hexagon Go, etc. They push it out, and it's really difficult to quantify. Obviously, we get quite a lot of we get good demographics with the TV viewers. That actually the GT Cup Championship channel. We get probably on average. Probably the average is probably 100 guests a weekend of Hexagons that actually take the time to drive to the circuit and come down, and and have a coffee with the guys and stuff. And it's difficult to put a number on that, but it's a lot. we've had partners that call them sponsors, if you like, in the past that we've run before we did this with Hex, and I don't think we've ever seen this. This has been crazy. We get to the point some weekends where we have to ask everyone to leave the garage because the guys want to put the tires on or something. You know, it's like we need a bit of room.
So busy,
It's a lot. It's a lot, and we want to. We want to trump that next year. We want to do it. We want to do it bigger and better next year.
And you definitely have one more visitor next year because Charlotte Gilbert is saying, HEX, come be our guest at our races next year, and I will be honored to be of one on your races next year. That would be great.
Please do. That would be very cool.
Right now, I'm in Playa del Carmen, just enjoying Mexico here for a couple of months until Pulse Chain finally launches. And then we are on the Million Pulse Tour, the next tour to promote HEX and Pulse Chain. And I will be busy with that. But as soon as I'm in Europe and the season starts for you guys again, I would be glad to come to one of your races. Jensen, Cromwell, I'm thanking you so much for everything you are doing. I'm thanking you for being here in the live stream with us, representing Top Cat Racing, representing Hex.com, and just contributing to this community. I think you are doing an amazing job, and congratulations again, winning the championship, especially for you, Jensen, after what you have done and what you've went through in the past season. I think it's just magnificent what you guys are doing. And thank you also to everybody in the chat. Please don't forget to like and subscribe because the documentary trailer of Top Cats Racing is coming out in the future, but also the documentary of the 5555 Tour from KSB TV is coming out soon. Next week, I think it will start. So thank you guys so much for everything. Any last words from you that you really want to bring forward to the HEX community?
Come and support us next year.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. We'll be here.
Come and support us,
guys. Come and support us, and thank you everybody at KSB TV for all the great work you're doing around the world. It's absolutely fantastic.
For sure. Yeah.
You hear it here, guys. Top Cat Racing. I think they will have an amazing next year with the season as well. Racing the HEX Lambos. I'm really, really excited for the documentary. I'm excited for what you guys are doing. Thanks for everybody in the chat, and we see us next week. Bye.
Peace.
Thank you.